And good morning. We are streaming live with the Soulful Illumination Show. I am your host, the Enlightened Enchantress, Nicole Borghi. And I'm going to get this working just a little bit. Bear with us. You know what? It's always a little bit crazy sometimes to get this going on, but that's okay. The energy of now. So, welcome to the Soulful Illumination Show. Everybody listening from around the world, the known universe, those traveling across space and time through interdimensional portals and other realms to the Soulful Illumination Show. You can chat with us live on Facebook. You can go to the Oneness channel. You can chat with us live on my channel, which is Essential Journeys under Illuminate Vegas, Nicole Borghi, or just chat wherever you're at. Join us, like and subscribe. Join the show. We always appreciate it. It's so wonderful to be able to share with you everything of right now. This is a show about connecting to the collective consciousness through heartfelt awakening. Allow the energy of the vibration to send you into a spiritual ascension. And just feel that. I'm your host, the Enlightened Enchantress, Nicole Borghi, and I am a soulful coach. I'm a speaker. I am a host of this wonderful show. And I am here to bring some light and love to you from a bunker somewhere near Area 51 in fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. So I want to just shout out to all of you watching and thank you so much for being here. It is an amazing journey every day to be able to be part of this, to share the love and share the light. Okay, let's move into our sponsors really quick. Get that out of the way. Our sponsor today is doTERRA essential oil. So remember, if you're having a time of need right now and you just need to relax or step back, pull those essential oils out, right? Pull those oils out and just put them into your heart space, into your third eye. It will share some calming. It will help in times of grief, times of depression. Contact me, Nicole Borghi, and I can help you find a plan with this. And it is a tool for healing. That's what essential oils are. It's full vibration in a little bottle that you can carry with you. And we love that. The other sponsor of the show is Cellcore Biosciences. And you guys reach out to me. If you have something that you want to look at or something you want to know, these products are great because it helps with our oxygen. It helps open up our lungs. It helps us through these times. And the air may be a little bit crazy out there. There's some fires, wearing the mask. It can take a toll on us. And so the reality is we need to replenish what's going on with us and put those supplements into us and just help raise our energy frequencies, because when we get depleted in times of stress, we want to put the nourishment back in and to raise our vibration and to be whole. Right now, I'm going to put in a quick little energy forecast because I've got a special guest and I want to get to him very quickly. So let's talk about the energy of today. The energy reading today for October 22nd is about harvest and reward. So the rune is Yira, Yira. And that represents harvest. It represents the reward. So when we harvest, when we sow our seeds and when we nourish the seeds in the ground and we give them that love and that commitment of the farming. So that's our soul that we're seeding, right? Our souls that we're nourishing. That's what it represents. It's time to harvest. So how do you apply the knowledge of today and the commitment? It is time for us to ascend. It is time for us to take the applied knowledge, the skills, and the research that we have and move them forward and represent ourselves at a heart-filled level, at a soulful level. The next rune is Thorizaz, which is protection and luck. And in order to have this protection, we have to work on who we are, be grounded, understand the divine feminine energy right now is coming in. It has come in August 8th. That portal opened up with the divine feminine energy, but we have to stay in balance. And so if you're all over the place with your monkey mind, you're not in balance. The balance is male and female energies, and how do they work in unison? The next one that I have is Suilo. Suilo is about rebirth, and the divine feminine is all about rebirthing that is you and bringing that new knowledge and that ancient wisdom back up. It's like new knowledge. It's something we've known in our lineage, but it is new to us right now. And we are opening up to the divine from our third eye, our higher chakra, our heart chakra are working in unison. And we are aligning that Kundalini energy on the spine, maybe the chi, however you look at that serpentine energy. And we are bringing that serpent back up for the rebirth so we can have success. I will caution you right now, the energy can be heavy. It may feel frustration. You may feel that you have to work through some stubbornness, some tensions. It can lead to legalities in a job or a business that you are working on. But know that those seeds that you have sown and all that work that you have applied to your body, your soul, and your knowledge is becoming rebirthed. It's becoming anew, just like a phoenix. Once that phoenix burns, it renews again like a dragon. The fifth dimensional energy is huge right now. The dragon force is coming in. Allow that energy to come in and come through you and just feel that strength and that comfort, because the dragons are mothering, the dragons are protecting, and the dragon is love and knowledge and ascension. So understand those beautiful energies right now. If you have any questions, please go to my website, Illuminate Vegas, book a call with me today. If you want a soulful illuminated energy reading, if you want any healing energies right now, or even a psychic reading, however you look at it, if you need some healing on a psychic level, maybe some psychic surgery, this is the time. We feel the harsh energies. We can feel maybe almost a negative. Some people look at or see a demonic presence. But what we need to understand is all energy and how to clear it. And you need some assistance right now. And I'm here for you, my friends. I am the one to help you lift that energy out, get rid of that energy, and become renewed. And that is another program that I do, my soulful coaching. And that helps you align your mind and your soul together and understand if you're having a little bit of a hiccup moving forward. How can you do that? How can you be in your almost your right mind and feel that at a heart-filled level and rise up? So book the discovery call. Right now, I am going to bring on a fabulous guest, a gentleman that has just done an extraordinary amount of research into crystal skulls of that ancient wisdom. And I'm going to bring in Mr. Joshua Shapiro. Are you here with me? Let me make sure that you're unmuted. Good morning. How are you today? Thank you for being here on the Soulful Illumination Show.
Thank you, Nicole. I want to put a shout out to Beverly Zemot, who I call the doc, for making this connection so we could have this program. So I'm sure she's listening. Also, I want to warn your viewers that for whatever reason, besides that I'm slightly sick, so I'll have to probably get up and down during it, but don't worry about it. I'm an Aries. Nothing stops me. I have a childlike energy around me. So I'm probably going to be telling jokes and stories and to make it fun because it's very, very important. This is what I'm feeling like being overshadowed for the radio show, that even though the world seemingly is going crazy right now, it is a catalyst that's going to take us to a paradise. And as we get into the program, I'll share with you some experiences I've had that show me absolutely this is going to happen. So, but anyway, should we define what a crystal skull is to make sure?
Absolutely. I am so glad that you're here today. And I'm going to let you take the lead on this and go wherever you like today and establish the understanding of what a crystal skull is.
Okay. Well, I have a friend here I'm going to bring on. And what I believe happens with the crystal skulls is that when they become activated, there is a living consciousness that works through them. Because almost everyone, we call people guardians or caretakers or, not an owner, because I think the skulls pick us. But they each give them a name, they have a personality. So I want to introduce to you today my personal crystal skull. I don't know why I'm using that accent, but it sounds good. Portal de Luz, which is in Portuguese or Spanish, which means portal of light. He's a very playful being. He seems to emulate some of my childlike abilities and so on. So it's interesting. So I'm just going to bring him forward because the best way to describe a crystal skull is to see what one looks like. Now, most people probably don't have one this big. He's about 10 pounds and that's almost human size. And he was done by a very skilled carver in Brazil, who's a personal friend of mine. And he was gifted to me by my second wife, who is Brazilian. So that's why he has kind of a Brazilian name. But he was made by a Brazilian carver, and the quartz came from Brazil. So he should have a Brazilian name.
Oh, fantastic.
So Portal de Luz, or Portal of Light, is the name. Now I'm going to have to put him down because, as I said, I'm not 100% and this guy's heavy. By the way, for those of you who watched the Indiana Jones film where they had this large crystal skull in a sack and they were throwing it around, that was not possible. I could probably only throw this guy like 2 or 3 feet. And then, of course, I would destroy him. He would smash in the ground. Those people could not do a skull like that. It would have been 30 pounds. So that was not correct, but it was fun watching them have fun. Okay.
It was a great way to open people's minds and thought process to what crystal skulls were, right?
Yeah, because there were a few things they said that were true, but most of the things they portrayed it as like, an evil aspect of it. And this is not what the crystal skulls are about. The problem is that when we look at a human bone skull, a lot of people say that was a person who was alive, and I'm not comfortable with that. Or the image of the skull gets used for death and doom. And, so are we just saying that part of our body, our bone skull, is death and doom? That doesn't make any sense. When creator or whatever higher force decided, and by the way, it's not just here on the earth, it seems that most people who have had contact with, I call them galactics, not extraterrestrials, they're humanoid. So they're similar to us. They have a head, 2 arms, 2 legs, but they may look completely different than us. So I can't imagine that just one part of our body is death, doom, and evil. This is, to get people to say, oh, this is too strange. Now I'm going to tell you some stories because stories is the best way to give your viewers an idea of what happens around crystal skulls. Now, I'm not promising that you're going to have the same experiences as I'm talking about, because I know I've had many lifetimes with these beings, and and they know I'm a writer and a speaker, so they got to be entertaining so I can tell entertaining stories. So there's one that's coming to me. Go ahead, ask your question first.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to let people know he's got several ebooks and books available. So go to the website. What is it? Crystal Skull Explorer?
No, it will be, but it's not there yet. It's cse.crystalskullexplorers.com. Okay. Or if you just look up on Google Joshua Shapiro crystal skulls or crystal skull explorers, then you'll find everything. because I'm the only crazy person with that name doing crystal skulls. So that's one advantage I have. Okay, so I want to come and tell you a story before I give you the definition, how we define crystal skulls. So Portal de Luz and I have been together since 1999. And he was gifted to me by an ex-wife. And she just said, well, I do these spiritual tours to Peru, which she still does, and I had extra money. So she felt to buy me this skull. And it wasn't a cheap skull. The price of the skull is based on its weight. 10 pounds is a pretty large skull. So
Yeah.
it would cost a lot more now than it did back in 1999. So anyway, I was living in Holland, and I had done a talk in Belgium to a group, and I met a young man. I think his name was Mark. I'm at 65. I can't remember names, but I remember the faces and the situation. So we'll just call him Mark. And he said, I said to Mark, there's a lot of powerful energies around these skulls, and I'm looking for ways to try to verify that those energies exist. And he said, well, we have a group that meets in my house with a certain type of device, which we call a Luckier Antenna. Now, the only way I can describe the Luckier Antenna is it's like a dowsing rod, excuse me, but it has numbers on it. And the practitioners who use this, they know specific frequencies of energies to look for. So when they find it, it flips by itself, okay? So it's almost like magic, It just, it's the same thing like a dowsing rod. When it finds metal or water, it'll move apart by itself. So there's an energy or for it. So this was a group, and the teacher came, and he looks at the skull, and I'll try to emulate his, accent. This skull is just a piece of rock. There is absolutely nothing that's going to happen around it. We are totally wasting our time doing tests on it. So he was absolutely convinced doing our tests. Now, for me, what happens is when somebody offers, let's try a different device, like we've worked with Meridian stress test systems and Carillion cameras and all kinds of things. I'm up for it because I have no idea what could happen. We might learn something important.
Right.
Now, your viewers may say, Joshua's crazy. This is not possible. They could not have possibly had these measurements. So anyway, I guess one of their best students, he's going around the skull, and he's measuring it and looking at different frequencies. And he comes back to the teacher and he says, now get ready for this. This crystal skull, and I don't know how the heck it's doing it, is showing the vibrational frequencies of the 5 human senses.
Wow.
The teacher goes, this is impossible. Do it again. They did it 2 more times. And, I'm very proud of Portal because he has a living consciousness. He's fun. He calls me dad, so please be quiet. I'm trying to tell the story, Portal. He's always talking. We have other skulls. They don't talk as much as he does. But especially when we get on a show like this, he says, Dad, remember this and that, and tell the people about this, because I have to be his spokesperson.
Right.
Because, unless you're connected with the crystal skull, not everyone can hear them telepathically. So anyway, that happened 2 times. Okay, so my interpretation of this is, could it be that this living consciousness that's talking with me, and when I say talking, I'm hearing it in my mind's voice. Like when I read a book, I have to hear the words in my mind or I can't understand what I'm reading. If I just look at it, it hurts me. Okay, so we all have these different gifts. So I think that's a form of inner voice or intuition, like there's a spirit being always by me on my right side, and he's going to say some stuff too. He'll remind me, or I'll have a message from him or whatever, so this is normal for me. So now for the viewers, I'm sharing this aspect of myself as I tell you these stories, because, either you're going to think I'm crazy, or you'll think I'm a good entertainer and I've made up some great stories, or you're going to believe me. But either way, what I suggest is don't try to figure out if what I'm going to say and share with you, if it makes sense or not. Just listen, because normally when I do my presentations or interviews this way, where I'm totally spontaneous, I will say something for everyone listening. Okay. because that's what's most important to me. I know these stories. I know what the skulls can do, so, it's not for my benefit, but I think, okay, so now we got to move to another story. Sorry, I just saw it and I have to do it or I'll forget. Okay. And I still haven't defined for you, but I have to tell you another story. And then I'm going to come back and define it. And Nicole told me I get to do whatever I want. So I'm just going with this.
Absolutely. Go ahead. Whatever you get downloaded
Okay.
with.
Okay. So the next story is, how did I meet my first crystal skull? Okay. Because before I met that skull, I didn't really, I saw, like everyone else in the 70s, I guess it was, Arthur C. Clarke's Mysterious World. Where in the beginning of the show, they would show the famous Mitchell Hedges skull and turn it around. And they did have, a program about the British skull and the Mitchell Hedges skull on there, which was very interesting. So anyway, I really, just had a little bit of connection with the energy of quartz crystals, but didn't really know that much. But anyway, I went to this bookstore. I had a friend, Francois, who actually had a son with the same birthday I did who had passed away. And she called her store the Ram Metaphysical Bookstore. So I related to that, being an Aries like her and her son. And, I'm there to show her my first book, which is out of print. The very first one I did when I lived in Chicago, called Journeys of an Aquarian Age Networker. And so I went there to see if she wanted some more books. And then she pulls out these pictures. Oh yeah, on one of my books, I have this skull, so you can actually see it here. So I'm not showing you the book to do a commercial. I'm showing you because you need to see an image. Look at the amethyst skull on the cover. That's the
Oh,
one.
wow.
You
That's
pulled out a
beautiful.
picture for me. So she pulls out this picture and I'm looking at it, and this becomes day one of being a crystal skull explorer, except I didn't know it then. And all of a sudden, my body is vibrating inside fiercely as I'm looking at this picture. And I don't have any clue what's going on. And then about 20 or 30 minutes later, there is a real earthquake in Kalinga, California, which is about 150 miles south of San Jose, where the bookstore was, which was across the street from the Rosicrucian Park. So
That is a beautiful park. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Nice area.
So I have the inner and the outer earthquake experience. And then I can't remember exactly how this came to me. But as I'm looking at the picture, it's like the skull is speaking to me. And it says, Joshua, we're here, we're returning, which means they've been here a long time, but they've probably been hidden, is what I would say. We're returning now because we need to help humanity to create world peace. So now that you know, what are you going to do about it, Joshua? Well, that's a pretty bold statement. So I had to think about it when I went back to the friends I was staying with. But, I know there was a shift in something. And then I thought, I got to see this skull in person. Because the key is, like, for example, if you resonate with part of what I'm talking about, then you need to have your own direct experience, which, either I help you get your own crystal skull, or, you'll find one of the current guardians. Not too many are traveling now because of the pandemic. But I think the owner of the Mitchell Hedges skull, I keep hearing he's going from here to there. That would be a good skull to see. However, if you see that skull, you'll never be the same again. So you got to think about it, because the energy around it is really powerful. And I'm going to have a story to tell you about that too. But anyway, so then what happens is some young man comes into town. He claims to be wealthy. He wants to see this crystal skull. There is a group of businessmen who have it. It's in an art gallery in the vault. So I get invited to the meeting, and there it is in front of me. And then they say, okay, Joshua, now you can touch it. So I put my right hand on the top of the skull. I felt an energy go all the way up to my shoulder. And since that time, I would see the skull like floating over my shoulder. Wow. So one of the things that I have noticed is, as there are key crystal skulls I meet, they're in a position around me in my mind's eye. But what the listener needs to understand is, when I see things, I'm not lucky like people that have this gift of vision. I don't see colors. I don't see a lot of detail. It's like grayscale. And I just kind of know what I'm looking at, and it's like one stilled image.
So you have that inner knowing of what's going on and
Well,
that feeling of the energy.
yeah, well, my first gift has always been I feel energy. So if I
Mm-hmm.
want to know who you are, Nicole, all I have to do is just throw myself into you and I get a sensing of who you are. And by the way, to the listeners, every single thing she said, she was completely honest. She wasn't saying it so she could get readings or whatever. These are her gifts. So if you resonate with it, I got to put in a good word for you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
This apps, I mean, I'm listening and yeah, that's Nicole, completely, totally open. So that's her. So that's my first gift. And then the second gift is, I guess the inner voice. And they will
Mm-hmm.
confirm things for each other. But I will have some visions. It's just that I probably had this gift of vision in other lifetimes. And instead of depending on that, because you can be betrayed by your vision.
Mm,
Like, if you're meeting, let's say, some nice, not so nice beings, they can make themselves look, like, oh, I'm an angel, I'm God, whatever. But if you go
right.
into their frequency and their energy, they cannot hide that. So,
No.
so that's probably why I chose to have the gift of, I call it the gift of feeling of energy. Um, so, okay, so now we're going to come to, no, wait, they're telling me one more thing to say about the amethyst skull. By the way, it has a name. It's called a me. And what I just heard to say, see, I'm giving you an example of how you can be driven crazy by these other beings around you. Say, no, you're not done with me yet. Talk about the guardian that you knew and what happened.
Once you're connected to this energy, whether it's crystal skulls or anything else, it is so strong when you're willing to surrender to that understanding and share with whether it's your guides or your skulls. It's amazing.
Well,
It can be overwhelming, but it is definitely for the long run. It's a wonderful thing.
the key is you have to think about it this way. Do you trust when it comes up? I mean, it just like came up into my face.
Yeah.
And if you do trust and you go with it, then you'll see that it works all the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm trying to, share things that are going to be meaningful for this listening audience. I mean, if I did another show, like if any of you heard me on Coast to Coast, they asked me questions and I had to talk really fast and I didn't have time to tell all these great stories. So you're getting the benefit of. Okay, so anyway, one of the prior guardians of a me, he was part of the group that had the skull when it was in the art gallery in the vault. He and I became very good friends and they decided to sell the skull. And they did. And whoever the guardian is that bought it, they're not sharing it, which is the
Mm,
greatest crime in the world because this is a
yeah.
beautiful skull, a lot of healing energy, and she loves to be with people. And she was so happy because I was able to arrange with this, past owner that we could do a little scientific research with the skull. So they allowed us to have the skull in these 2 hotel rooms for like 2 days. And we tested the energy and I got together a group of people and 2 of the owners were tested as well. And Portal de
Mm.
Luz was very excited because he was next to, and the skull is now known as a me. That's the name my friend Al Ramirez gave it, which means friend. And so the 2 of them were next together while I was sleeping and I got to meditate with them and I have some
Oh,
pictures.
wow.
And actually, if anybody really likes that skull, and I don't understand why more people aren't getting this ebook I have like a 90-page ebook where I put in all my experiences with me. And Al Ramirez gave me this full notebook of information they had, and I put in the best information from there. So there's no one else that has all this information on that crystal skull.
And you have plenty of information. And when I read your ebooks and when I go online, I can feel that gift that you share with the skulls or what they share through you.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful, just enlightening information, and it's fun. Right, because sometimes it can get tedious when people write, but you share just a plethora of wonderful information.
Thanks for that, Nicole. So anyway, getting back to my story. So Al Ramirez was the guardian, and he was the only one in this business group that really got what this skull was about. And it's because he loved it. That's the only reason why we were able to do the research. And probably the rest of the group thought, well, we'll take this research and this will prove more that it's a very old skull and it's worth all this money. The skulls, you can't put a price on the skulls. Even the Mayan elders who know about the crystal skulls, they say the same. But, because of the society we live in and, all the things involved, especially for the carvers today, you have to charge, like, when we have this one skull that we're making a series, Geronimo Juniors, I have to pay the carver, I have to pay the shipping. There's some extra that should come to us for our work. So we try to do it in as balanced a way as we can. And it never fails. The skull always calls to the right person. So anyway,
Mm.
Al had a problem. He had a blood vessel that was growing badly. And the doctor said, if you were a younger person, we could do a surgery on you to fix it. But at 60 or 70, if we do this, you might become like a vegetable. He says, just go
Mm.
ahead and do it anyway. I believe it will get resolved. So he became like a vegetable. He could barely move, communicate, but somehow he communicated to his family to put him on the ground with the back of his head to the back of a me. And all he did is thought, I'm going to be perfectly well, perfectly well. And he totally recovered. Okay. Now, when I was in Poland and we were doing crystal skull sessions with people, mostly healing sessions, Portal de Luz had received, I believe, that energy from a me because they had been next together and they share energies. It's like people. We share stories, we share objects, they share energies. And there
Mm.
were 2 or 3 people that we met, and they all picked Portal de Luz, who had the very same condition as Al did. So that was pretty interesting. And then there was one other kid in Poland. I still haven't defined the skulls, who really amazed me, who worked with Portal de Luz. And again, I'm just trying to give people an idea of what kinds of things happen around the skulls. Okay. I'm used to it. I expect it. It doesn't surprise me as much most of the time. But anyway, there was this young kid who came to us and he had a problem with his eyes. And they must have been doing like some kind of chemical treatment, like chemotherapy on cancer, but a different kind of treatment for the eyes with chemicals. And every time he got that treatment, he would be in bed for days and days to recover. Because I have a good friend who had chemo, and that's what happened to my friend. Is after you have it, it takes you 4 or 5 days to recover. So
Mm.
anyway, his mother decides he should have a session with the crystal skull, and Portal de Luz was the one he picked. And that same day he went for his treatment, and that same day he went out and played with his friends after the treatment.
I
So,
did read that. That's amazing.
okay, so what I'm trying to explain here, the most important thing I can say about the skulls is once they become awakened, let's say, like, Portal de Luz is a modern skull. He's not one of these older ones that has been around many civilizations over thousands of years. He's a modern one, but he calls them, what do you call them? Um, God, I can't remember the name that he gave me. Oh yeah, right. His older brothers and sisters. So when there's a skull, like a Mitchell Hedges skull, which I believe was done in Atlantis, I remember it from Atlantis. So again, you could say I'm crazy, but I see it in the temples. I know I was in the Atlantean temple. I had a reading from this lady who was channeling the Arcturians. And they said, yeah, in one lifetime you were part of the council, which means I would have known about the temples and the skulls.
Right.
And I still have a guardian Arcturian I knew in that lifetime. And I keep feeling her ship always above watching over me. So I'm going to tell you another story later with Rosalita, which I can't show you. She's too heavy. That happened with her. See, so everything is interconnected with the skulls. Okay, so those are the stories I'm supposed to share because I don't see another one. So now let's come back to the definition. Okay,
Wow.
so you saw Portal de Luz. So he's a piece of smoky quartz crystal that was taken out of the ground in Brazil in Minas Gerais. This Brazilian carver put him into the shape. He did do other skulls of a similar shape. Okay.
Okay.
When Portal de Luz was gifted to me at a crystal conference, which had many crystal skulls. So, in effect, it was a crystal skull conference too in 1999. There was a woman there who had worked with the Mitchell Hedges skull, was a medium, again, a friend of mine. And she has the ability to read the skulls. And so
Wow.
her hands are going all over Portal de Luz, and she's giving me information. And she said, you know, the being whose Portal de Luz was just waiting for the skull to be made, knew that eventually it would come to you, and knew what things you guys would be doing together. So it was like it was preordained that I was supposed to
Wow.
receive this skull. Plus, I didn't have to pay for it; it was gifted to me.
Oh my goodness.
So that
Awesome.
right. So, but when I first received him, I wasn't so sure I wanted to be responsible because I have enough trouble taking care of myself. You know, there's too many
Yeah.
exciting other things than worry about. And that's why I'm actually sick now because I haven't been taking care of myself. So I have a slight problem. But, you know, like I said, I'm Aries and nothing's going to stop me. So, of course, you know, I'm not going to tell Nicole, oh, I can't do it. I'm not feeling good. No, when I do this, I feel great. So forget about whatever.
Good energy. Thank you
Right,
for sharing that.
right. Okay. So coming back to definition. So it's not just quartz crystal, although that's what I resonate with. The strongest
Mhm.
skulls I have, and the ones that first came out were made out of quartz, which, you know, comes in different colors.
Right.
Portal de Luz is a smoky quartz. Smoky could be gray, although there have been a couple of times where he turned totally clear. So,
Wow. Okay.
so his weight and his appearance change depending upon what's going on, which of course is impossible. Physical objects shouldn't change. Um, of course, there's clear quartz, which is the Mitchell Hedges skull. Amethyst you saw, which is a me. Rose quartz, which, by the way, we just got a new rose quartz made that's based on Geronimo Golden Eagle. But we'll
Mhm.
talk about that later. Rose quartz, citrine, which is kind of a brown or an orange. Rose quartz obviously is, you know, a vibration of love, pink.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
there's also a blue quartz, but it's very rare. But I've seen a cross made by Frank Dorlin, who had the Mitchell Hedges skull for a period of time studying it. If any of you read the book, The Crystal Skull, which I can't remember the name. See, I'm really bad. Garvin, Richard Garvin, from the guide over here. Thank you. So, so see, we don't have to remember everything if we trust our guides or we trust the people we're talking to. Like sometimes I'll forget something in a lecture and somebody in there will say, I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh yeah, that's right. That's what I'm trying to share. So,
Right.
so that's the key. So you have the new skulls being made by the modern carvers. You have very old ones, which we can only speculate how were they made.
Mm.
Were they done by lasers, by the power of the mind? Were they gifts by extraterrestrials and advanced beings? And we have kind of a middle class called old, which seem to be a little more primitive. The modern carvers have diamond tipped tools, so they can cut
Right.
through quartz and stone like butter. But the more primitive people didn't have these kind of tools. So their skulls are a little more primitive. We call them old skulls between, let's say, 100 years ago to about 1,000 or 2,000. After 2,000 are very old or ancient ones. But then there's another category of skull. Um, if I get to take a break, I'll see if I can find that one. We have one.
If you want, absolutely. If you need to get up, move around, and we can just go. I'll just keep going on from there.
No, I'm not ready for the break yet. I'm just
You
saying
just let me know.
I have what's called an apported crystal skull. Now, for those who don't know what an apportation is, around mediums who either either move aside their consciousness and let someone else come in to speak,
Hmm.
or some mediums, as the one we knew, Michael Shane in Seattle when we lived in Seattle, has apports that come through his physical body, which I imagine is very painful,
Mm.
but they must change the vibrational frequency of his body to make this happen.
Right.
Through his mouth, we went to one of his seances, and so he was in a curtain area, and we said, could we put all the skulls around the curtain area? Because he allowed us to come. He said some Crystal Skull Council wanted us to be there.
Mm.
And so I actually had a vision of what happened to him while I was in the bathroom, which I laughed because I thought, you know, it's just wishful thinking. But in the bathroom, you get to relax. So
Right.
when you're taking a shower or doing other business, pay attention. Sometimes some really interesting things can come to you. So I had a vision of this, but I laughed and I said, there's no way that's going to happen. But what I saw did happen. Out of his mouth, as he's apporting like about 40 objects, comes a little tiny crystal skull. And it's
Wow.
a green opalite, fire opal skull comes out. And boy, did that have a really strong energy. It doesn't have that energy now, but when it first manifested into our physical, there's no way he could have swallowed this. Some people say it's coming out of it. He must have swallowed all these things and now he's regurgitating. That's ridiculous. There was all kinds of jewelry and other things coming out, and it was just falling from his mouth. He said there's an energy
Wow.
vortex they open, and it just
Uh-huh.
so this skull comes out, we let people feel it, and it was very interesting. So we have a little apported skull too. Now, what I don't know is, because there's two possibilities, was it taken from somewhere in our time and apported through him to be given to us? Or was this created by the mind of the spiritual being that was speaking through him, which I keep forgetting the name. It's one of the Indian gods that spoke through him. Not Shanti, but another one. So could it have been created by the mind of the being that was speaking through him? I don't know. All I can tell you is it came from nowhere, seemingly coming from nowhere. And there's other people I've talked to who have seen this happen as well. Either a different apported object or a skull apported. The strongest case for apportation I've ever been exposed to is the Skull group, which is out of Skull, England, which is north of London. They were, sitting around a wooden table with crystals at the edges and a glass jar in the center, and they were having spirit talk to them from the air and physically appearing to them, and they had apports falling on their table. So I saw,
Wow.
because I got to go to where they did this, and I saw things change inside a portal while he was inside the skull hole that's like, in their, it was kind of like an underground cavern under their house, a cellar. And, I felt like water on my hand, but there was nothing there. So there was some residue of the energy. It stopped, but it was the most powerful confirmation that spirit was able to fully manifest in our reality, because eventually they manifested. They figured out, and it wasn't easy for them to create a physical body and be able to speak. Okay,
Yeah.
because when they're speaking from the air, they create an etheric larynx and they put their thoughts into it, and then the larynx translates it into English, the sound vibration of English. So that's how I understood how to do it. But with the skull experiment, there was one other thing that was really cool. And there's a book on it. You can read about it. So I'm just linking it to the skulls because I brought it to this cellar and I saw all of our skulls change internally while being there. Is this person comes through. What they did is they had a camera and they took pictures in the dark of undeveloped film. And
Mhm.
there was a person, Thomas, well, I'll just say the name. Edison came through. He spoke to them. They were shown a device which they created, and then Edison said, "Hey, this is Tom. Can you hear me?" And he gave them the device so that they could hear him speaking from spirit. Now, when he was alive, he
Wow.
did try to create such a device, and I don't know if he was successful enough. He said, "I believe there's a way," because this man was a genius.
Yes, yes.
He might have been a pain in the butt to work with, but he was a genius and was constantly coming up with inventions. There were so many things that he came up with. So, because I read a biography about him, and it didn't have, I was looking for where he was talking about to create this device to communicate with the dead or spirit. So I don't think he did it. So I think he said, I didn't get a chance to do it on the physical side, so I'm going to send it from spirit. And they created it so that he could talk to them. So,
That that's great. That's fantastic for people to have even just devices so they can utilize that. We
right,
don't all have the same connections, and just that way you can study it almost, and
right.
it's actually a physical a f- a physical gadget or tool, so people can see and study, because sometimes they still to this day have that kind of
Resistance.
weirdness and resistance to the power of the mind and our heart and our soul.
Right. So, gosh, I lost the story. I had another story. Oh, yeah, now I got it. Thank you, whoever is up there. Okay, so we had another friend that we met in New York, and she invited us to stay with her. And she had in her backyard this big teepee, so that's where we slept. But she told me a story from her father. Her father, and she had her own crystal skull, by the way, I think bigger than Portal de Luz. So again, they
Wow.
got to visit in New York. Portal always likes to visit with his brothers and sisters, so they can talk to each other. They don't, we don't know what they're talking about, but usually it's good stuff. So anyway, she said her father worked for like NBC, ABC, CBS, one of those, when there was only radio.
Hmm.
And there was certain radio frequencies that they were hearing people talking that they had no idea where this was coming from. Okay, so I think they were picking up on the level of spirit. And so they outlawed in all radios made from that moment forward that those frequencies would never be allowed to be in radios. Okay, because they were hearing these people talking. So, and then I know there was another person I read about, and I saw a video about him, where there was a radio that was not working. It was completely dead. And when this man was around it, then spirit would speak through that radio. And it would just, activate and everything. So the crystal skulls, to me, definitely are communication with other intelligences, other beings. They get to observe us through the skulls, is what I feel. That's what I,
Yeah.
that's what I felt when I was in front of the Mitchell Hedges skull the first time, which was in Dallas, Texas, in the late 1980s. I think mid 1980s, 85,
Hmm.
86. I can't remember. Too many things have happened. So in the 80s, sometime, I was looking at it and I just went really, really deep. And I said, I know there's somebody watching through this. And I said, I want a truly conscious UFO experience, please. It still has not happened. Conscious.
Wow.
Okay, I do have my coma experience from Las
Hmm.
Vegas. By the way, I have lived in Las Vegas.
Right.
Um, I think Beverly was there. That might have been where I met Beverly initially, was in Las Vegas.
Hmm.
I was drawn to go there from California in 1989 because there were some people. Well, first of all, there was a person I met in Las Vegas, a Hispanic man, and he had a crystal skull that nobody knew about. And it had
Mm.
Mayan symbols on it. And how he came to have it was when he was a guess teenager. He went to school in Mexico, and his class took a tour of a Mayan ruin, and he just felt intuitive to pick up our stone, and there were two crystal skulls there. The one that he had, and another one he gave to a friend. So that's the one he showed me. And then for some reason I lost connection. I have no idea where that skull is. And then I think he passed away.
Oh,
So
wow.
probably one of his, but it was similar like Al Ramirez. He had a tremendous healing. He was very sick, and the crystal skull was looking at him, and he felt that he needed to work with it, and it totally healed him. So this
Oh,
is another
wow.
person who the crystal skull comes into their life to help them through a major, major healing.
Oh,
By the way, for those of you who live in Las Vegas, have you seen the UFO clouds that are like one on top of the other on top of the other? I don't know if they're still
I've
doing.
seen them. I've seen them. I've seen the portals in Las Vegas and walked through those as well. And a lot of the shifting, waiting for those entities and my higher council to come out and
Yeah,
join us
so
right now. Yeah.
right. So I saw a lot of that when I was there. But then I had this experience, and I think this experience is important. Even though it's not directly connected to crystal skulls, it's connected to what's happening now and our future. And Nicole, you cannot stop me from sharing this one,
I
okay?
want you to share
No,
this.
I'm
Go ahead.
joking. I'm
This is
joking.
yours.
I'm just trying to be fun. Of course, I know you won't. I'm just trying to be funny, okay? See, my brothers and sisters, if you can't have fun doing your spiritual path, you shouldn't be doing it. And the other thing is that most of what we're being told that's going on, they have no idea what they're talking about. But I'll explain to you through this experience why I know that. Okay? And you don't have to believe me. We have signs. There's a lot of light workers who believe everything the major media is telling them. And I'm here to tell you it's a lot of it's nonsense. The clue is, okay, I'll just say this clue and then I'll tell you my experience. Why are they removing certain information from Facebook and YouTube? And by the
Mm.
way, there's a lot of stuff now, call it dirt, whatever you want, against Biden that I've seen that's coming out. And CNN will not talk about it at all. As a matter of fact, I don't know if this will happen. They're saying it's so bad against Biden, he may not run and Trump may go uncontested. So we'll see. We live in a
Yeah.
crazy world. Who knows? There's all kinds of wild things going on. Okay, so anyway, so what's happened is I'm living in Las Vegas. I think I had a meeting for this nonprofit group that I helped to form, where the crystal skulls, were part of what we were going to study. And we had the guy in Las Vegas, and we were also working on a movie project with crystal skulls, which hasn't happened. And this is back in 1990, so I'm never giving up on this. So I'm just minding my business, walking down the main street, and Nicole, some of those main streets, it's like 55 and 60 miles an hour in the city. And I hear a large screech behind me. I think I was going to McDonald's, but don't tell anybody I said that. And that's before I knew how to eat good. And I'm fearless. And I think, I don't care what this loud screech is. And the next thing I know, my vision goes from light to dark. I wake up 2 days later in a hospital, tied down. And the doctor's saying, do you remember the truck that hit you? And I go, what is he talking about? He's insane.
Gosh.
Because I don't have any memory of being struck or hit. I just remember my vision going from light to dark. But when he asked me, I didn't think, where am I? Why am I strapped down? What's happening? I didn't think that because I passed out again. And so basically 3 days later, I came back. Now, I was too lazy. Aries are lazy. I'll have to admit it. I didn't convert my California driver's license to Nevada. So they weren't sure who I was or who to contact or where I lived. So, but it's okay. It all worked out. So anyway, here's what I know that happened to me. I don't remember all of it, but I remember part of it. So here goes. When I visited a friend in Colorado like a month after this, it felt very familiar to me as if I had just been flying before. So I think my light body, my spirit body, because my physical body was in the hospital. And I guess I needed to go do this, so somebody had to take care of it while I was gone, because there were entities trying to get into me. That's why I was strapped down. I had to go to a meeting on the inner dimensions. So all I can remember from this meeting is it's like, one stilled image from a movie, one frame. I have a couple of frames, but I can't see like the whole thing. And it's a knowingness. So I'm in a meeting like Princess Amidala in Star Wars. Her planet is being invaded. And then she's on Trantor, and all these beings are talking about what are we going to do? All these galactics, and I don't know who else was there, are looking at the Earth and saying, we have to help our brothers and sisters down there. But we have to do it in a way that we don't scare the dickens out of them. Because if we come down the way that we look, most of them will go crazy. Okay? If we just appear out of nowhere. Okay. Even though people like you and me, we're totally prepared for it, but our human part may not be totally prepared for it. Okay?
Right.
Now, I think I was there, and I agreed to this before I was born because they needed the feedback of people who were living on the earth presently. So I assume there were other people there as well.
Yes.
To give feedback. I don't think that's going to work. No, that's going to be too scary. Maybe you should do this or whatever. But anyway, the bottom line is I saw when I was there exactly what is happening right now.
Wow.
And then I saw myself in front of a door, and there was some person who I guess I know. I actually put this person in one of our books I'll be showing you. It's a novel. He's in there. Yeah, I figured out how to put him into the story and everything. And I'm begging him, you're sending me back. I have no problem going back, but I know so much. I could help so many people. Don't do this to me. Don't blank my memory. They blanked my memory, of course.
Wow.
So, I remember when I got back, I was low energy. I wouldn't have believed I was hit, but I had a sprain on my ankle. My shoulders were sore. It took me a while to come back. And I was even invited to Brazil while I was still recovering to speak in front of thousands of people.
I hate to interrupt you, but we got about a minute left, a minute or two left. Is there anything that you want to share before we have to sign off?
Is this sign off for everything or just for a break?
This would be total sign off. We are done. Our hour is just about up.
Oh, I can't believe it. It's been an hour. Okay, so yes, I have a few things to say. Let me show you a couple of books. So this is the book I have about my journey to Peru looking for the blue skull, which is still in another dimension. And here we have the book about the novel I was telling you about, where the blue skull shows up and that man shows up that I met. You want to go?
Amazing.
We have 3 free ebooks to offer to all of you. You have to email me to get your copy. One is Crystal Skull, one is about being in a computer simulation, and one is the message that I didn't get to tell you about from my future self, who I become Arjas. He wrote through me. So those are the 3 ebooks. The email address is crystalskullexplorers@gmail.com. And the website again is csc.crystalskullexplorers.com, or look up Joshua Shapiro and Crystal Skulls and you'll find me. And I have a lot more stories to tell you. So Nicole, you're going to have to bring me back.
I will. Anytime that you want to come back, we're going to sign off for now, but I'll still see you in the Zoom room. So thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day. Thank you for watching.